For 60 years, comedy icon Don Rickles made people laugh, but his family kept quiet about the truth. That silence was finally broken in 2024 by his daughter Mindy. Everyone who believed they knew the Mr. Warmth behind the taunts was taken aback by what she disclosed. The threats from the mob were serious. Nobody could have predicted how terrible the family tragedies would be. He was almost crushed by the remorse he held over the loss of his son. We are revealing today the sinister secrets that Don Rickles carried to his grave, and the reasons behind his family's prolonged silence. On May 8, 1926, Don Rickles was born in Jackson Heights, Queens. His parents immigrated from Israel. His mother, Etta, was the daughter of Austrian Jews, while his father, Max, was from Lithuania. There were many old-world tales in their home. Although difficult, life was full of vitality. They observed Orthodox Jewish customs and conversed in Yiddish at the table. Don heard tales of hardship, conflict, and survival as a child. He was taught at a young age to find humor in suffering. Later on, that would form the core of his comedy. Don wasn't an excellent student at Newtown High School. Despite his subpar marks, he was unique in other respects. He was elected as the Theatrical Society's president. Teachers saw that he lit up the stage despite not studying much. He openly ridiculed both lecturers and fellow students. He was referred to as the Clown Prince by everyone. During World War II, he received what he described as a war diploma, which encouraged young men to enlist in the military. He was able to make his crazy comedy work even in a disciplined school. Don enlisted in the Navy at the age of 18. From 1943 to 1946, he was in service. In the Pacific, he served aboard the USS Cyrene, a vessel that provided assistance for torpedo boats. The labor was difficult, the heat was oppressive, and danger was always present. The team was decomposing from the humidity, Don joked. However, his humor helped people deal with that suffering. His shipmates recalled how his jokes made them feel better. Don was able to transform his dread into amusement by the time he left the Navy. He used that as his weapon for the remainder of his life. He attempted something more sturdy at home. He was encouraged to pursue a career in insurance sales by his father. Don tried it in a suit, but it didn't work out. He was unable to sell. His sense of humor was inappropriate for door-to-door sales. He detested it when people slammed doors on him. He was heartbroken by the setback, but it also forced him to discover his own calling. His mother urged him to pursue his happiness. He was able to escape the usual post-war grind, thanks to such support. Don began attending the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in 1948. It was a significant step. He trained with future celebrities like Jason Rhodes and Grace Kelly. He didn't like drama, though. People laughed at his serious roles, and not in a nice manner. Nevertheless, things fell into place when he was permitted to play humorous characters or ad-lib. He came to see that it was actually a wonderful thing if he failed at drama. He was able to discover his true calling thanks to that setback. He was able to explore a completely new genre of comedy, thanks to the Academy. Don began playing in the Catskill Mountains at the beginning of the 1950s. Those little resorts were a location to find labor, and he needed money. The audience loved to heckle, and was close to the stage. He was yelled at in the middle of a performance one night. Don didn't ignore them. Instead, he retaliated. Quick, scathing jokes were his way of insulting them. The audience burst out laughing. Everything changed at that point. His severe, icy manner was not only accepted but adored. He leaned into it from then on. Despite hecklers, he remained unflinching. He welcomed them and included them in the performance. The term hockey puck also originated at the same time. Don sought an insult that wouldn't get him pummeled in the gritty nightclubs of Miami and New York. He began referring to people as hockey pucks as a result. It was funny, but it didn't make sense. The phrase stuck because people laughed. They even included it in the script when he voiced Mr. Potato Head in Toy Story years later. Those chaotic early shows helped make that one dumb insult a part of popular culture. Don gave nearly constant performances between 1950 and 1970. He performed in places that most people shunned, including Mobrun night spots, strip joints, and dilapidated lounges. He occasionally performed 3 shows per night, 7 days a week. Frequently, audiences were impolite, inebriated, or outright dangerous. Don, however, persisted. He improved his abilities. He quickly learned how to silence hecklers, and each jab he made during those years influenced the performance that would eventually fill Vegas theaters and land him on national television. His stage armor was constructed by the demanding crowds. In New Jersey, there was a night that almost went too far. Don noticed a man and his wife in the crowd while going about his daily business. He compared her to a moose in a joke about her size. He was unaware of the man's ties to the mob, though. There was silence in the room. Don was summoned backstage after the performance. The man laughed and bought him drinks, despite his darkest fears. Although it was dangerous, Don's legend was shaped by incidents like that. Even though he probably shouldn't have been, he showed courage. Don Rickles had been attempting to gain recognition for almost 2 decades. In 1958, at the age of 32, he secured his first movie part in Run Silent, Run Deep. In real life, that age could have been acceptable, but he was already falling behind in Hollywood. The majority of actors his age were well known, but Rickles was given more than a supporting part. He ended up on cinema alongside Burt Lancaster and Clark Gable. It was a serious film in which he portrayed a quartermaster aboard a submarine during World War II. Rickles succeeded without any humor or jokes. He gave a performance that felt more like he belonged on television with legends than a nightclub act. It altered his course and shocked spectators. After growing up in Queens, he finally made his way into the world he had only ever fantasized about. In the 1960s, things took an odd turn. Rickles was trapped in a sequence of films about nonsense, sun, and sand. At first, movies like Muscle Beach Party and Bikini Beach appeared to be innocent entertainment and easy money. But they almost destroyed his career. Teens danced and surfed around him as he portrayed silly adult roles. Reviewers detested the movies. He was no longer viewed by directors as capable of handling more serious or even clever humorous roles. He kept getting cast in these beach films by his agent, who was married to one of the stars, Annette Funicello. People chuckled at their silliness, but not in a positive way. At a White House dinner years later, Barbara Bush ridiculed Rickles for those performances. Like adhesive, they adhered to him. He added humor to them. It nearly cost him everything, though. Rickles made a left turn, just as it looked like he might be stuck in goofy parts forever. He made an appearance in the odd little science fiction movie X, The Man with the X-Ray Eyes in 1963. This low-budget film, which starred Ray Milland and was directed by Roger Corman, had enormous ambitions. Rickles portrayed a carnival barker, attempting to con a man who was able to see right through everything. He was not a joker. He wasn't a comedian. He took action, and it succeeded. The movie was a success with science fiction lovers, and brought Rickles a new level of recognition. People realized for the first time that he was capable of handling more somber, heavier content. He was no longer merely the loud-suited humorous man. Enter Laughing, a comedy about a young guy attempting to pursue a career in acting, was directed by Carl Reiner in 1967. Rickles played a bit role as Harry Hamburger, a tough-talking acting coach. People paid attention when he was on screen, even though he wasn't there for long. He had the ideal timing. He delivered his lines with force. His scenes were regarded by critics as some of the greatest in the movie. He did a fantastic job in his first serious attempt at humor on the big screen. After years of performing in nightclubs, he was finally able to convey the same enchantment to moviegoers. The movie brought him closer, but it didn't make him famous. In 1970, Kelly's Heroes followed. Everything altered as a result. There were several stars in the cast: Donald Sutherland, Clint Eastwood, and Telly Savalas. Rickles, however, held his own. He almost stole the entire movie in his role as Crap Game, a witty supply sergeant. It was a war film, but a unique one. It had attitude, movement, and humor. Rickles' gregarious, money-hungry persona was ideal. After becoming popular, the film eventually became a cult classic. All of a sudden, Rickles was more than simply a Vegas comedian and a guest on talk shows. He was a legitimate Hollywood performer. Behind the scenes, Rickles' entire career was shaped by one daring moment. It took place at the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas. America's most influential entertainer, Frank Sinatra, was eating dinner. On a date, Rickles, who was still largely unknown, was also present. He persuaded Sinatra to come over and pretend they were old friends, in an attempt to win the woman over. Rickles didn't thank Sinatra when he came to the table, despite his agreement. Sinatra might have ruined him for that, but he chuckled and waved him away, saying, "Frank, not now. Can't you see I'm with somebody?" Sinatra took Rickles under his wing after that night. He was soon nicknamed Bullethead by Sinatra. It wasn't disrespectful. It indicated that Rickles had merited a place in his world. After a moment on stage in 1957, Sinatra offered that name. Everyone froze. But Sinatra chuckled when Rickles replied, "Make yourself at home, Frank. Hit somebody." Sinatra was in the audience. He found Rickles' guts appealing. no one touched him again. Rickles could say anything and get away with it, even if it was directed at the most dangerous individuals. He was protected like family by Sinatra. However, safety was not always synonymous with protection. Rickles was playing at the Copacabana in New York on April 6, 1972. Joey Gallo, the mob boss, was present. Gallo was attempting to regain his influence after being released from prison. Rickles called out his prison sentence, his reputation, and everything else as he blasted him from the stage. Backstage friends were in a panic. They implored him to halt. Rickles, however, continued. Gallo remained silent. He even chuckled. The threat was real, though. Later that evening, Gallo invited Rickles to Umberto's Clam House for a birthday meal. No, answered Rickles. Perhaps he was worn out. Perhaps he sensed something. A mob hit the establishment a few hours later. More than 20 rounds were fired by the gunmen who broke in. Gallo passed away in front of his loved ones. Rickles would have attended that dinner if he had accepted the invitation. He might have been slain. He might have saved his life by making the choice to forego a late-night dinner. Rickles continued to perform as he grew older. He took the stage for Ronald Reagan's second inauguration in 1985. Despite being a Democrat all his life, he went because Sinatra begged him to. As usual, Rickles mocked celebrities, cabinet members, and presidents that evening. Nothing was forbidden. Politics didn't interest him. The crowd was important to him. And he was adored by the audience. Don Rickles was not merely a guest on Johnny Carson's program. His command of the stage revolutionized late-night television. He made almost 100 appearances between the late 1960s and the 1980s. He was scheduled at times. At other times, he simply stepped in and took command. Carson thought it was fantastic. He welcomed Rickles' teasing, not simply put up with it. Rickles became famous because of something that could have wrecked most careers. On one occasion, Carson even let him to host while he was the guest. The two shared a unique quality that made it work. Carson was cool and collected. Rickles moved quickly and loudly. Every visit seemed new because of their chemistry. The bullfight music alerted the crowd to what was about to happen. Rickles would emerge prepared to shoot. For over 10 years, The Tonight Show was a must-watch because of those moments. Rickles was filling in as host in 1976 when a little incident became a memorable one. He shattered the wooden cigarette box belonging to Johnny Carson. Since 1967, it had been on Carson's desk. Carson was perplexed when he returned the following evening. He gathered a video team and went to the adjacent set of Rickles' new show after learning that Rickles had done it. While they were filming, Carson stormed in and addressed him directly. It was impromptu and unpolished. Rickles got through it by making jokes. Carson acted like he was angry. It became one of the most often played segments in talk show history. It was more than just amusing. It was a novel experience. It blurred the distinction between shows and included the host in the narrative. It was unlike anything viewers had ever seen. While Rickles excelled at variety shows and live performances, sitcoms were a different matter. He received his own variety show in 1968. It was short-lived. He made another attempt in 1972. New format, same title. This time he starred in a 13-episode written sitcom as an ad executive. In a controlled environment, Rickles was unable to shine. He required freedom in his comedy. He was slowed down by the texts. Critics and audiences took notice. Rickles' unique spark didn't function within the confines of a comedy. However, something significant was revealed by those failures. Not every performer is suited for sitcoms. When people are free to be who they are, they perform at their best. Rickles' utilization in subsequent programs was influenced by that lesson. Then CPO Sharkey arrived. It provided Rickles a TV home at last, and ran from late 1976 until spring 1978. He portrayed Chief Otto Sharkey, a man who yelled insults but genuinely cared about his crew. In the show, which placed him in a Navy situation similar to his actual service during World War II, characters from a variety of ethnic backgrounds made up the cast. Rickles made fun of each of them, but he did it with an odd affection. Particularly in episodes like the one about punk rock, the jokes were daring for the period, but they were effective. There was space for Rickles to be himself. The framework of sitcoms did not confine him. There were 37 episodes in the series. Although it wasn't a huge smash, it demonstrated that Rickles could be the star of a series, given the correct conditions. From 1973 to 1984, Rickles discovered yet another ideal match: the celebrity roasts of Dean Martin. He dominated, not simply participated. The concept was straightforward. Friends have been known to roast celebrities, but Rickles set the standard higher. He was quick, nimble, and unafraid. On that stage sat everyone, from Ronald Reagan to Bob Hope. They listened to Rickles as he spoke, if apprehensively at times. Frank Sinatra was one of the most well-known roasts. Despite the presence of mafia people in the crowd, Rickles went hard. Their breath was held until Sinatra chuckled. Everyone else was able to laugh because of that chuckle. In front of John Wayne and Orson Welles, Rickles even insulted Dean Martin himself in 1976. These specials outperformed several scripted shows in terms of ratings for a decade. Rickles became the target of everyone's roasting wishes. You had succeeded if he offended you. For years, Don Rickles' witty remarks and unafraid humor made people laugh all around the world. Offstage, however, his story was full with tragic loss, silent love, and moments that very few people ever witnessed. His life completely transformed in 1965 after he met Barbara Clark. At the age of 38, he was still looking for something genuine. Neither his celebrity nor his attacks impressed her. He was surprised that she didn't find his jokes funny. It drew him in, too. She was different from the others. She was grounded, composed, and truthful. He was able to let go of the act and be himself at last because of that honesty. The date of their marriage was March 14, 1965. They were hardly separated for the next 52 years. Barbara raised 2 children with him, Mindy and Larry, and supported him through the tumultuous world of entertainment. In private, Don referred to her as the anchor of his existence, yet on stage, he frequently made jokes about her. She went on tour with him. She helped him through everything and changed her dinner schedule. She even took over his Twitter account after his death in 2017, so that his fans could continue to hear his voice. But there was also a lot of suffering in their love tale. On May 12, 1970, Larry, their son, was born. He created the 2007 Emmy-winning HBO documentary, Mr. For Warmth, The Don Rickles Project. Continuing his father's career in entertainment, people believed he was just beginning. Then Larry unexpectedly passed away from pneumonia on December 3, 2011. He was just 41. Barbara and Don were devastated. The loss, according to friends, broke them. It was a scar that never completely went away for Don, who was already in his 80s. The story became much more terrible 10 years later. At the age of 84, Barbara lost her fight with non-Hodgkin lymphoma on March 14, 2021. Their wedding anniversary fell on that very day. 56 years had passed since their marriage. The timing startled fans and friends. It sounded like the last note in a tale of love that had experienced both happiness and heartache. Barbara was more than just the wife of Don Rickles. In every aspect of his life, she was his companion. And their relationship endured throughout time, in a manner that few couples in Hollywood are able to do. Don had a different side that only emerged in front of the camera, and not in his typical environment. People were taken aback when he was cast in Casino in 1995. The picture, which starred Robert De Niro, Sharon Stone, and Joe Pesci, was a serious, violent criminal drama directed by Martin Scorsese. Rickles wasn't a dramatic actor. He was a comedian. Before filming began, Scorsese informed him that De Niro was serious and rigorous about his technique. Rickles was unconcerned. Despite this, he made jokes. De Niro was renowned for his unwavering morals. Even in between takes, he remained quiet and concentrated. Rickles, however, disregarded such guidelines. De Niro was subtly smoking a cigarette in one scenario, which increased the suspense. Rickles was powerless to stop himself. The crew erupted in amusement when he yelled, "Will you say the goddamn lines? It's almost 6:00. I've got to go home." De Niro broke too. It wasn't the only occasion, however. "Get somebody that can talk, for Christ's sake," Rickles scolded him during another take, adding, "This guy is making $8 billion, and I'm making 2 and a coffee." Rickles' iconic phrase that caused the entire set to erupt broke through the gravity. When he actually caused De Niro to collapse to the ground in laughter, it was the most unexpected moment. Scorsese was unable to contain himself. The wall of seriousness was broken down by Rickles' timing and deadpan delivery, which also served as a reminder to everyone of the potency of humor, even on a tight movie set. Despite making fun of gangster lines, he gave a performance that was truly respected. He portrayed Billy Sherbet, the devoted chief of casino security, in Casino. Rickles gave the part a subtle strength that was not overt. It proved that he was capable of more than just making people laugh. When it mattered, he could act with authority and restraint. No one anticipated the event that occurred in 1995. The voice of a children's toy unexpectedly replaced comedian Don Rickles. who was well known for his brutally honest mockery of celebrities. Rickles was approached to play Mr. Potato Head in the brand new animated movie Toy Story at the age of 69. Nobody knew if the film, which was Pixar's debut feature, would succeed at all. It was Rickles' first time voicing a cartoon character. He was accustomed to smoky clubs and live audiences, not recording studios. The filmmaker, John Lasher, arrived at Rickles' residence with a Mr. Potato Head toy. The bits of the toy fell off when Rickles opened the door. Rickles' head also appeared to be a potato, Lasher joked. The ice was broken at that moment. Rickles consented to give it a try. It was weird at first, but he quickly found that he could bring his witty humor to the role in a manner that no one else could. All of a sudden, millions of children who had never heard of the man who had once ridiculed Frank Sinatra were giggling at his words. Rickles was even more shocked by his own grandchildren's response. Harrison, Mann, and Ethan had grown up watching Pixar films. They had personally witnessed their grandfather's performance. To them, Mr. Potato Head was more important than the fact that he had appeared on TV since the 1950s and had performed in movies with Joe Pesci. Their favorite character was that one. It was the first time they ever regarded their grandfather as something more than life. According to his daughter Mindy, one of the family's favorite memories is of their 2010 attendance at the Toy Story 3 premiere. According to Mindy, the role helped more than merely restore her father's fame. He became memorable as a result. He was Pop Pop, the sardonic potato, in their home, not simply Don Rickles. What began as a single movie became an integral part of Rickles' life. In 1999 and 2010, he returned for Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3 respectively. He apparently made a reappearance in Toy Story 4, which was released in 2019 even though he had died in 2017. He also provided the character's voice for video games, Disney theme parks, and Christmas specials. He recorded more than 750 lines on a single ride. He pushed his voice so hard in the booth for over 35 hours that he was unable to talk afterwards. However, he continued to return. He always said yes when they called, even while his health was deteriorating. It didn't seem like labor to him. That small toy was his favorite. For the part, Rickles didn't alter his approach. After reading the sentences, he began to improvise. Like his comedy days, his quips were quick and unvarnished. Pixar adored it. His voice was included into the animation. The script left out the majority of Mr. Potato Head's greatest scenes. They resulted from Rickles' authenticity. The man behind the scenes who made fun of everyone on stage was actually a nice and modest person. His sweetness astounded the animators. The persona felt genuine, not just humorous. Fans and the Pixar team were devastated when Rickles died in April 2017. His Toy Story 4 recordings were still unfinished. His family, however, was opposed to his character being extinct. The sound experts at Pixar therefore combed through decades worth of recordings, old takes, amusement park snippets, and even the audio from video games. To keep Mr. Potato Head alive, they managed to piece together enough conversation. Although he doesn't say much in the finished movie, Rickles is in every syllable. A tribute to him concludes the film. It was a subdued yet impactful way to part ways. Rickles refused to slow down as his health deteriorated. In 2017, the year of his death, he continued to organize performances. 1 month after his death, in May, he had one with Regis Philbin. In the hopes that he would recuperate in time, he even attempted to move the dates to later in the year. In February, he assured reporters he was happy at 90 and had no intention of stopping. He was also working on an AARP TV project behind the scenes. He just never gave up. Only a few weeks before turning 91, he passed away in his Century City home, surrounded by his loved ones. He had been married to Barbara for 52 years. Larry, his only son, had passed away in 2011. Additionally, the family requested that donations be given to Children's Hospital, Los Angeles's Larry Rickles Endowment Fund, following his passing. Most individuals were surprised by what they learned from his post-death tributes. He was dubbed comedy's Mount Rushmore by Jerry Seinfeld. His best buddy, Bob Newhart, described him as the most kind person he had ever encountered. While discussing him live on the air, Jimmy Kimmel broke down in tears. It turns out that the man who was known for using jokes to break people's hearts had a big heart. According to friends and admirers, he was incredibly devoted, kind, and giving. He supported other comics behind the scenes and made innumerable charitable contributions. He helped collect funds for children's hospitals and donated his time and money to Jewish causes. He helped nearly everyone he knew, but he also made fun of everyone. Mindy Rickles, his daughter, has put a lot of effort into ensuring that people remember his true identity. She has contributed to the creation of displays, shared vintage videos, and explained the origins of the jokes. He was more than a comedian, she claims. In addition to being a father and grandfather, he had a strong concern for others. Sharing that aspect of him has become her mission. The truth is that Don Rickles' greatest legacy may be his compassion, even if he will always be known as the world's funniest insult comedian.